Hello, I'm Jorge. Nice to meet you all. Today I've decided to do something different. This has to do with our blog series, Territorial Disputes. I decided instead of writing a post today to introduce myself, introduce my face, so you know who I am. I'm originally from Argentina and I live here in the UK. I've been an academic for a bit over 20 years and I've been researching territorial disputes for a bit over 10 years now. Falklands mainly, Crimea, Gibraltar, Kashmir. First of all, this is my house, and I had the choice to be a bit more formal and to dress up, or to do it from a different location. I thought it was important, first of all, to show you how I am and the way I am, rather than only an academic. I'm also an individual, like you. The idea behind, again, this series is to open a floor for a healthy debate about territorial disputes, as I explained very early in the first probably 10 posts, if I'm not wrong. All the posts are based on a very basic principle. I introduce facts, I introduce the views of the claiming parties, usually sovereign states and people that are living in the land, in the territory. Why I'm doing this? Because it is usually the case, people are ignored. That's why I introduce them. And then I introduce what the academic society or community thinks about this dispute in particular, what the politicians think, what the people think, and what the media and their perception show to the world and to the region. For the last, we cover so far Kashmir, we cover Falklands, Malvinas Islands, and we cover Gibraltar. In all these cases, we had, for each of these differences, we had 10 posts. Recently, we started, as you know, the Israel-Palestinian dispute or difference. In that particular case, because of the comments I'm getting through Twitter, the blog, by email, I decided to extend the analysis. That's why it's taking a bit longer. A bit of background. Last year, again, as I said, I've been researching these issues for quite a long time. Last year, I finally published my book based on the research about sovereignty conflicts and how to deal with them, how to solve them. I'm showing this not for you to buy, it's quite expensive. Feel free to buy it, that's not the intention. Most of the content, as you know, I'm sharing through the posts. And most of the content, again, it's free for you to read when you are reading the blog. In any case, what I'm trying to do here, I've been asking myself probably all my life. I'm 42, being from Argentina, living in the UK, why there is no solution to the Falkland Malvinas dispute. And same, most of my childhood I shared with Jewish companions or peers at school, kindergarten, primary and secondary. And I've always wondered why the Israel-Palestinian difference cannot be solved. To me it's very simple. I don't think there is a will to solve these disputes. So what I try to do with this book and what I'm trying to do with the blog series is just try to introduce again the facts, introduce perceptions, and see whether reasonable parties could get to a solution. That's exactly what I do in the book as well. The book, very briefly, because there are some other presentations on my YouTube channels about the book in Spanish and in English. The book, what I try to do, I take a particular conflict, two sovereign states, and the people that live in the territory that is under dispute, and I ask them to solve the difference. The only condition I put is they don't know who they represent. So these three peoples, or these three groups of people, have to select elect representatives, they go into negotiations without knowing who they represent. By doing that, they have all the rest of the information, history, sociology, geography, law, etc. By neutralizing who they know, I believe I'm going to avoid bias. And these reasonable people, by default, are going to come up with a solution I decided to call egalitarian shared sovereignty. Again, more development in the book, and again, you have a bit more information on the blog series. Egalitarian doesn't mean equal, and I explained that in detail again in the book and in the blog series. What I'm trying to show is a bit of an irony. Reasonable parties can come up with a solution. What I'm trying to show that we are being slightly unreasonable in all these differences. Israel-Palestine, Malvinas, Falklands, Gibraltar, Kashmir, and so on. And I don't think this is my belief, I don't think it has to do with people, it has to do with either representatives of these people or particular interests that don't have to do with these countries or people or the territory itself. Coming back now to, and let me be clear, coming back to the difference we are right now dealing with, Israel-Palestine. This dispute has been going on for a few decades. If we take the historical argument since biblical times, more recently, since the creation of Israel, and closer to us in 1967, when Israel took over certain territories from Jordan, we've seen ongoing disputes. The escalation, the recent example, days ago, the Gaza Strip, more than 60 people, as we know, have been killed by Israel troops, demonstrators from Palestine. Some claim they've been supported by Hamas, some claim they've been forced by Hamas, some say or claim they were peaceful demonstrations. The realities were, whatever the discussion, 60 people were killed and quite a few more were severely injured. What I'm trying to do again is to introduce a way to solve these issues. Chapter 5 of my book, I deal with there are many solutions to international conflict and conflict resolution, from autonomy and independence through self-determination, taking the case to the International Court of Justice, the Antarctic solution, co-dominion, etc., etc., etc. In the particular case of the Israel-Palestinian difference, there have been a few proposed by America, the United States. The two-state solution is probably the best known example. The Arab League as well proposed something similar along the lines, and some other proposals. Partition as well, the original solution from the former British Empire. All these solutions, I believe, should be discarded. Why? Because they are offered by parties that have little to do with the region. They don't live there, they are not going to suffer, they are not going to live through the consequences. To me, it is clear that all these parties, rather than looking for a peaceful solution, thinking of the people that are in that region, are thinking of their self-interest, either the American or the British or the Arab League, or even Russia, only to name a few. And in addition to this, it is more likely that any kind of agreement would be more respected should the same parties, Israel and Palestine, came to an agreement. That has been demonstrated through research. When parties come to an agreement, it's more likely that they respect that agreement, rather than the agreement being imposed either by United Nations or any other countries, or by any other sort of agreement that is not decided by the parties themselves. So my proposal is for these two parties, representatives of Palestine, a state that we may argue is a de facto one, that means that by fact it is considered a state, we have all the elements apart from the recognition, the international recognition. We have the territory, we have the population, we have rules, we have the law as well, and we have a sort of government. And then we have, on the other hand, we have Israel, de jure and de facto state, which means all these elements, a territory with population, with government and law, in addition, different from Palestine, being recognized by the international community. Whether we consider both states, de jure and de facto, or simply a group of people, Palestine, together in the territory, and a proper state, legally speaking, Israel, the fact is we have two large communities fighting over the same territories. The reality, again, going back to, I discard the historical entitlement for several reasons here on my book, chapter 6, because if we keep on arguing about the historical entitlement, we are not going to come up to a solution. I use Nozick's theory of just acquisition to prove my point. I'm not going to go into detail just to avoid the jargon. For the ones interested, again, there are free posts on my blog, and again, the book, chapter 6. So what I'm trying to say, if we focus on the past, we are not going to solve the problem. If we focus on current remedies, well, the proof is in the pudding, the conflict is still going on. If we let foreign parties solve this issue, chances are they are not going to think of the people living there. When I mean people, both Palestinians and Israeli populations living there. They may think of one, the other, or none of them. So my advice would be, first of all, that these two parties come up with a solution, a common agreement. And secondly, of course, through discussions, they should share on egalitarian terms the territories that both parties are claiming. I'm going to deal next week. We've been covering population, and I explain about the dual passport or the common passport, Palestinian Israeli passport. We started as well with territory. We covered borders yesterday. It was my intention to cover defense today. We'll do that on Monday because I wanted to introduce again myself and my face. And then next week, after covering defense on Monday, we're going to deal with law and government. We've done this before for the ones that are following the blog with the case of Gibraltar. However, we're going to go into a bit more detail now with the difference, the Palestinian and Israeli difference. And probably we are going to finish on Friday with an overall conclusion. Well, good to meet you. Let me know what you think, whether you prefer the video, you prefer something in writing, you prefer a combination of both. And any questions, again, you have my Twitter account, London1701, or Dr. Jorge. And again, you have my blog. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for reading. And again, if we want to solve this and any other difference, we can. Where there is a will, there is a way. The big question is whether we want to solve this difference. Remember, we are the people, they are the representatives. We ask them what to do. They are there to represent us. If we want a solution, we can achieve a solution. Let peace prevail, and I'm hoping that both Israel and Palestine and their children, future generations, can live finally in peace in the region. Thank you very much. Until the next one.